Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Polite Society podcast. We're going to kick off recording here in just a second. I want to bring my team in. You see Amanda and Charlie and Rob here tonight. We're going to be your broadcast team. We do not have a guest scheduled tonight, mostly because with the transition, and there goes Rob.
No, he's still here.
Can you prove that?
Fell off his chair, but other than that, he's perfectly fine.
With the transition from video to podcast of the Daily Bullet, I've had activity up to here, and I just didn't get anybody booked for tonight. So it's going to be a little bit of a shorter night. Rather than 90-minute show, I expect it to be somewhere around a 60-minute show. I would encourage you, if you are so inclined, if you want to get in on the conversation, to go ahead and comment on either the Facebook or YouTube videos. And if the comment is, how do I put this? If the comment is family friendly and is appropriate to what we're talking about, we'll get it on the air. We'll talk about it. And the primary place I'm looking at is the SAF's Polite Society, the SAF's page. Although the Polite Society podcast does have the broadcast as well. I'll be checking between the two, but I'm primarily going to be looking at the SAF's page for comments. So, and I've got 30 things going on. So if I miss your comment and you think I'm going to miss it, just go over to SAF and comment there too, and we'll get it in. So I think that's all the stuff on the technical end. I've got all the comments hooked up, and I've got show notes, and it looks like we're all ready for at least the intro. So, lady and gentlemen, I think we're ready to go.
Which one is the token gentleman, Charlie?
I don't know. That would be you.
No. I think I was the gentleman last week.
All right, let's kick this off then. Let's see here. Basad Ayub in 5, 4, 3.
Hey gang, this is Masad Ayub from the Pro Arms Podcast. I'm here to remind you that our podcast is a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network, and I'm going to suggest you do what we do and check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Treat every firearm as if it's loaded.
Never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy.
Keep your finger off the trigger until you are on target and ready to fire.
Always be sure of your target and what lies beyond it.
Hi, and welcome to the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. We're recording this one on Monday, January the 10th, 2022. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm Rob Morris, and on tonight's show we talk about Mexico finally admitting it lost almost a third of the guns it got from U.S. manufacturers and from the U.S. military.
I'm Amanda Suffolk, and we're going to talk about a judge issuing an injunction on Philadelphia's ban on ghost guns.
I'm Charlie Cook, and we'll talk about a Denver mayor, a Democrat, who wants to ban homemade firearms. So climb aboard.
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 608 of the Polite Society podcast starts right now. All right, it's Monday night. It's just after 6 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, the only time zone that matters. That means it's time for us to get going on PSP. Rob, what's been up with you since the last time we recorded, man?
I was on Bill Frady's Lock and Load radio show. I joined you on the Second Amendment Foundation's Weekly Bullet, and then Mike Piwowarski had me on Arm Room Radio. I recorded another episode of Self-Defense Gun Stories with our friend and colleague, Amanda Suffolk. Amanda, what have you done since we talked last?
Oh, you mean 15 minutes ago? And here I was going to say that I recorded with Rob. You stole my thunder. So, and then I recorded with Paul for the Daily Bullet. And the only other news that I have is that if you watch my show, I've been jonesing for a Canon. So Rob Campbell gave me a Canon barrel, and then he took it back home with him. So no Canon for me. So hopefully it comes back. I don't know. It's just riding around in his truck. But
Is there a flamethrower in the mix there somewhere as well?
no, just a Canon, but it's just the barrel. So I have to make its wheels and its little. It's going to be fun.
There's only so much he can do for you. I mean, come on.
No, at least we could have unloaded it before he left. That was where I was. So
Okay, how much does the cannon weigh?
I don't know, but it's a 1-inch diameter bore. So it doesn't.
All right.
His wasn't. We rolled his around in a wheelbarrow. I mean, it's not.
Gotcha.
They're
So-
not giant. They're not giant size.
Technical question: a 45 caliber is 0.45 inches.
Correct.
So is your gun a 1 caliber or 100 caliber?
Yeah. No. It'd be,
Yeah, it depends on if you're using the metric system.
25.4. There we go.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. 1 golf ball size. So Charlie, what about? Let's get away from this, Charlie. What about you? What's going on with you?
We just found out the projectiles we need to buy Amanda for her Canon.
How
We
did
need
she
to get her some title.
An expensive girl. Wow.
Right, we need to get some Titleist for her. So I have been up to, I've done a number of the NRA home firearm safety classes here in Massachusetts, and I've done some Utah classes as well. It's been a few weeks since I've been on the show. I actually went down to D.C. between the holidays, and I filmed a show down there. And I may have milled out a few lowers over the holidays as well for some potential new firearms that'll be coming into the family soon. Paul, what's been happening with you?
Well, it's been last week we started moving the Daily Bullet from video only to podcast only, and it was about a 2-day transition and 2 to 3 day transition, and the Daily Bullet is now a podcast only. What the discussion was we were getting so severely throttled by both Facebook and YouTube that I said, look, I can blast these numbers out of the water in a week if you let me do this thing as a podcast. And okay, go. And you know what? We're nearly there. It's not been a week yet, but we're nearly there in numbers in podcast what we were doing in video. So I'm really hoping within 2 months we absolutely positively dwarf what we were doing in live video with podcast. Do I think we're going to be Joe Rogan? Yeah, I mean, I got to be realistic. No. But I'm hoping it continues to grow. And so for Polite Society podcast listeners, please do go search your podcast software for the Daily Bullet, or the actual name of the show is the Second Amendment Foundation's Daily Bullet, or it's on iTunes, it's on Google Podcasts, it's on everywhere it's on Stitcher, anywhere you want to look for podcasts, it should be there now. So that's been just all encompassing, is me trying to get that thing up and going and growing, and that's the entirety of what I've been up to.
It is on iTunes. I just checked.
Okay, your check completes number 643. I did the first 642 of them. So
Just like the old days, huh?
yeah. And just like the old days, the first 3 people to listen to downloads of the podcast were me. because I downloaded it several times to make sure it worked. I downloaded it with an Android phone, and I downloaded it off a computer, and I didn't find. I sound like somebody. I don't know anybody that voted for Trump. I don't know anybody that has an Apple iPhone, so I didn't. That's the only thing I didn't do, is I didn't go on an Apple device and make sure it downloaded on an Apple device. But
you know plenty of people that have an Apple device. You just didn't ask them.
It looks like it does. I just subscribed. Although, as I'm trying to look off the screen here, I typed in the Daily Bully.
Is there a Daily Bully podcast?
Daily Bully came up, so I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should subscribe to that one too. I don't know.
Wow. All right. Well, we are 8 minutes into a 5-minute intro, so let's hear.
Like that, Paul.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Before the train absolutely totally derails, it's just rocking in the rails right now. It hasn't totally derailed yet. Let's hear from the SAF, and then we're going to get back to talk about news. And gun websites, thanks for checking in, man. He checked in on the YouTube side. We're going to go ahead and hear from the SAF. Oh, wait, you know what? I'm being an idiot. I've only done this 608 times, guys. You need to give me a little bit of a chance to get used to this. 608 times. Apparently, I need to get somewhere closer to 610 before I stop forgetting to do this. Let's talk a little bit about the Self-Defense Radio Network, and we get a black screen when I try to punch the browser up. That's no good. So, sdrn.us. There are 14 shows up there, and let me say 13 active shows, because I killed the Armed Society podcast to make room for Polite Society to take its spot after my stroke, and I screwed up a couple things. So, but there are still plenty of podcasts up, and meanwhile, my addled brain is catching up to a few things. I did remember that I did want to give my condolences to Bill Chakas. Bill, if you're listening, you do have our deepest condolences. Bill is the proprietor of the Firearms Chat podcast, and his co-host passed away this week. And so, Bill, again, you have our condolences. So, Warsaw Patriot checking in. Thank everybody again. Thanks for checking in. We're going to step aside to break, and we're going to hear from SAF. When we come back, we'll get into the news, and let's hope this button really does work and doesn't give me a black screen. Right back, right after this.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have vowed to take away your Second Amendment rights through gun bans, gun confiscation, and government regulations. Now, Joe Biden is no longer hiding his real intentions, and we need you to take action now.
Whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle is ridiculous. I'm continuing to push to eliminate the sale of those things. But
the Biden administration is coming after your right to own any gun, and we need you to text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Joe Biden has already issued executive orders. He is now demanding Congress push through radical gun legislation. You can fight back to stop Joe Biden's gun grab, but you must text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Take action to protect your right to keep and bear arms. We urgently need millions of Americans to text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221.
All right, we are back. And, wow, Brent commented just now and said that this morning 2 of my Crapple devices decided they didn't want to play podcasts anymore. Brent, it's time to leave the dark side and come over to the good side of the force and get an Android product, man. I just can't tell you. We're not sponsored by Android, but I honestly believe that Apple is the center of evil for the universe. So
I thought that was Google, but all right, I've been confused before.
No, and I've said this. I don't know if I said it on the air yet, but I truly believe that Steve Jobs was the Antichrist. So, anyway,
All right.
Okay.
let's talk a little bit of news. And in number one in news, our newsreader Susan is feeling a bit down today. Her voice has taken a real hit, and thank goodness she didn't pass that off to me. My voice is doing just fine, but she asked to have the night off. Of course, I couldn't do anything other than say yes, dear. So Susan has the evening off. Let me scroll down here, see what we got for news. Rob, looks like you've got the first story with your name on it.
Criminals have a lot of guns. They stole over 13,000 firearms from gun stores last year. Another source reported about 300,000 guns stolen from homes and cars each year. Now, that works out to about one gun stolen for each 1,300 guns we own. And frankly, I thought the number of stolen guns would be larger. That's the good news. But before you think we can cut down on that crime and keep guns away from criminals, if you were the type to think that, consider this. Mexico admitted last week that it lost a third of the guns it bought from the U.S. military and from U.S. manufacturers. The Mexican army lost a third of its... Yes, you heard that right. That dwarfs the 3,000 guns that the Obama administration deliberately sold to Mexican drug lords. The Mexican military also admitted that it lost guns from, deep breath here, Germany, Australia, Italy, Romania, Spain, and Belgium. All right, now we know where the Mexican drug lords get their guns, at least the ones they use in Mexico, and the ones they use in the USA. If you can build your own midget submarines to move drugs across the Caribbean, you can get a few ounces of plastic and steel into the United States.
You know, go ahead, Rob.
No. Your turn.
Amanda and I just wrapped up the Daily Bullet for today, about 45 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And we talked about Mexico just brought up charges in Fast and Furious. 12 years after they finally, on yesterday, brought down some charges. Something that, Eric Holder's still walking the streets here and is getting paid to make speeches here, and yet their the guy that was in the Mexican administration who was charged with fighting the cartels, he was their number one guy assigned to fight cartels, he's in jail in the United States accused with protecting drug cartels. And then the Mexican government is suing U.S. manufacturers because of the gun problems in Mexico.
Paul, can you? It's called discovery, and you get Eric Holder under testimony, and you get Newell, the head of the ATF, and go, gosh, fellas, how did you clear the transfer of 3,000 firearms? Oh, please bring that lawsuit. Please, please, please.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But the other part is that Paul and I were talking about is they are the people that they arrested for Fast and Furious in Mexico. Are they culpable, or are they now somebody's political enemy? And the easiest way to address them is to hand them over to the United States, right? So it's going to be a watch this space and see what happens.
I'm hearing that we should go down to Mexico and buy some guns. That's what I'm hearing.
So you're saying that the border, the guns are probably going to be coming north over the border rather than south, right?
If Charlie has anything to do with it.
Not necessarily, but there could be a way to get guns, right? I mean, they started here, right? They were originally here in the United States. They were manufactured here. I think what boggles me is that a government of another country can sue businesses in the United States. This kind of boggles my mind. That, like, where's this court gonna take place? Is it gonna take place in a Mexican court? Is it gonna take place in the United States? Is it gonna take place in, I don't know, Canada or Europe?
The Hague?
United States
Yeah.
going to let this happen, or are they just going to stand outside the door and go, Penny, 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 right? Sorry, Rob. It goes to a TV show, and I'm sure you probably never watched it. But no, I mean, and you just stand on the outside and say, I'm going to sue you if you ever let me in. Like,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just.
Paul has growled a lot today. This seems to be the frustration level of where he thinks the news is. It's fairly entertaining.
Yeah, I'm. My blood pressure medication I did take this morning, and thank goodness, because I've not stroked out again. So.
Good. Keep that up.
This is all right. This is good. You might want to take one tonight too.
Yeah. They're in the other room.
Can you take these at will, or is it a regular medication you have to take?
No,
daily?
it's a morning and an evening med. So, yes. Let's. We kind of covered the first two stories. I didn't realize that I was tying the second one into the first one, but I kind of did.
Yeah, they kind of went together. Yeah. The only thing to add to it is there's a list of people in the United States tied to Fast and Furious that we've done nothing to, not held accountable in any manner, and that's really the interesting thing. I mean, those 3,000 guns, there's millions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer money used to buy those guns to set up law-abiding U.S. citizens, and we've not held anybody that was involved in it. We've not held them accountable.
This is very tangential, so if it's too off track, please rein me in. I watched this movie. It's called Don't Look Up. It's on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I took a couple hours to watch this. It's a movie about these scientists that discover that there is a meteor that's coming towards the Earth. It's going to hit the Earth in 6 months, and it's going to destroy the whole world. And the scientists that discover this they essentially kind of get laughed off of a TV show. Then they discover that it's real. Then one of the guys becomes a very celebrity. He's on all the news shows and the talking head shows and everything. And to me, it was really a commentary on people were more concerned about the breakup of some pop star than they were about a meteor crashing into the Earth and destroying the entire Earth. And it seemed like nobody really wanted to pay attention to it. And the more that we talk about this story, the more it seems the same, where people don't want to pay attention to holding the people that are accountable for Fast and Furious responsible. Mm-hmm. And you know, the U.S. government and Eric Holder and Obama gave all these firearms to the Mexican cartel to try to track them, and then they lose them. They can't keep track of them, and they've
But
where's that medication?
Their purpose was not to try to track them. Their purpose was to screw the American public by saying, look at these vicious guns that are going into Mexico and coming back to get in the hands of drug cartels and do all this bad stuff.
Yep.
So we need to ban guns in the United States.
Yep.
The gun shop, there was a guy who went to a gun shop with $1 million check to buy guns. And they called the ATF and said, something stinks here. And the ATF's like, no, it's a legit purchase, go right ahead.
Wow.
They set us all up.
Yeah, so how come we don't have 535 new members of Congress? Like, this boggles the mind.
Because, Charlie, here's the painful thought. There are a bunch of, and I'm going to look right at the Democrat gun club. They would rather have their guys in than clean this up. Sorry, it's that simple. Democrats would rather turn a blind eye. You put Joe Biden in office. What do you mean you're worried about gun fraud, guns on our streets? No, it's. I'm sorry. Okay, good. Just text me that.
Blood pressure medications.
I'll get right on it. Yeah.
We need to either stop this story, or he needs that. Nurse Scratchy just brought him in the meds, right?
I'm having hot chocolate here.
Let me get some comments in here quick, because I think there's some people in the audience that might want to get some of these too. But let's.
All of a sudden, Paul's a pill pusher.
I'm telling you. Pete over at Gun Website says, in my opinion, the pursuit of fast and furious gun running by the ATF would be a great subject for the firearm community to focus on, hold those responsible accountable, and is a new vector for our activists. I agree to a very large degree. I agree. However, it's got to get some traction. I don't know that I can push it myself. I don't know that Amanda and I could together, even with Rob Morse and Charlie Cook helping us, I don't know that the four of us can push it enough that it gets traction in the gun community.
We've all talked about it. Everyone here who's got a show has talked about it. David Codria was in it up to his eyeballs promoting it. The only mainstream journalist who brought it up was Cheryl Atkinson, and they threw her out of CBS because she wouldn't toe the line.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I love Robert's comment. Scotch works well too. Yeah, well,
Robert.
Not in conjunction.
Yeah, no. One or the other, not both. Right. But I like the way you think.
And Pete brought up, of the guns we can trace, 80% of them came from the USA, when in reality, 90% of their guns were untraceable. I want to, kind of, but the guns they sent to the USA, do you think they sent any Benelli shotguns to the USA for tracing?
No.
No, because Benelli are Italian. They didn't send Benelli here. They didn't send any HK here. They didn't send any. They only sent Smith & Wesson. They only sent Colt. They only sent, well, if they had handguns that were Glock and said made in Austria, they didn't send them here. But if they said made in New Smyrna, Georgia, they sent those. Amanda, go.
The other thing that they did was they counted the same guns over and over again in those statistics. That was another piece to that story. Oh, yeah. It came out 3 months ago, maybe? Yeah.
I'm so behind the times. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah. Penny.
Well, let's parlay this into our next story, which could come in very handy for those of us who are up to this. The Democrat mayor of Denver signed a bill banning homemade firearms in Denver. These firearms are called ghost guns because it makes it sound better than a custom-assembled firearm. Also, bringing an umbrella to a protest can now be considered a crime in Denver as long as the police believe it was brought for the purpose of defeating crowd dispersal measures and not to prevent you from getting rained on.
Right. If you didn't want to get sprayed with tear gas, so you brought an umbrella, that's now a crime. Interesting what progressive has been twisted to mean, isn't it?
Right.
It's funny how the progressives are really regressives.
Yeah, think.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the umbrella thing reminds me of the penguin on Batman from when I was like 10. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Well, so I know I'm off the deep end, and I love it. I do love the Kennedy. It is cold as my ex-wife's heart.
That's cold.
That's sad.
I love the Kennedy. I love the Kennedy assassination. I really do. I will watch every story on the Kennedy assassination, and I will believe whatever agenda it is that they are pushing. And there was one agenda where there was someone that had an umbrella gun, And that was supposedly the gun that fired off the fatal round in Kennedy. And it had to do with something that went back to Neville Chamberlain and Joe Kennedy, the father. But this person was the only person that had an umbrella in Dealey Plaza on November 22nd, 1963. And if that's not crazy enough, I remember watching some of the riots, or watching some video of the riots in Minneapolis early in 2020. And there was somebody that was in a black suit, head to toe. They had a mask on. They had like a big, like a gas mask on. And they had an umbrella in their hand. And they went over to a car auto parts place and smashed the window. And they turned around and left. And I'm like, oh my God, it's the umbrella guy. He's still out there. Yeah.
Or it's the owner of the guns, or the owner of the auto parts store that wanted a new window.
It could be that.
Sure.
But, yeah.
Okay.
So I think what we need to do is I think we might have to make some of these homemade firearms or homemade cannons, whatever it takes.
Homemade flamethrowers. Let's yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that. I'm going to go for a commercial flamethrower. I don't want a homemade one because I'm thinking that when that goes south, that would be bad.
That would be bad.
Nice.
You know, our driveway occasionally gets really icy. I'm thinking Amanda should, make a trip west, when she gets that
I don't have a flamethrower yet. Yeah, we'll work on that.
Yes.
So
in the meantime, I'll send you some salt.
So we need a polite society communal flamethrower. This is what I'm hearing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I have a feeling that a flamethrower is going to come into the Lathrop household before there will be a Desert Eagle in 50 AE. But at any rate,
probably. Do we want to talk about Philly?
Do it, Rob.
All right. Well, we just said that the mayor of Denver signed a bill that said homemade firearms are illegal. Not so fast there, partner. Philly's ban on homemade firearms was knocked down in court. Yesterday, the Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia County issued a preliminary injunction against the city that halts the city's enforcement of its recently enacted ordinances banning homemade firearms and the use of 3D printers to make gun parts. Gun Owners of America sued the city of Philadelphia in state court last May, challenging the ordinance. Was settled Friday.
All right.
I was teasingly going to say, and Rachel Malone isn't even done with law school, and wait till she's done with law school and can really go to work for us. So.
Right.
I honestly believe these lawsuits are going to win again and again and again, and they're going to have to get filed again and again and again and again. Mm-hmm. Simply because losing in Philadelphia doesn't matter to Denver. And when they lose in Denver, that's not going to matter to Albuquerque. It's not going to matter to Chicago. It's not, they're going to have to keep getting slapped down. Yeah.
That would be fascinating. Would the standard of review in New York State rifle and pistol, if they say, no, this is serious, this is the right to keep and bear arms is enumerated, you have to impose history and tradition or strict scrutiny. And that means if you pass a law, it has to be shown to be both effective and narrowly tailored. At that point, can you start to sue cities for human rights violations for these frivolous gun laws?
Well,
I am not a lawyer. I did not stay in. Oh, yeah, okay.
I talked on Friday. We had, as every Friday we do, Alex Uli on the Daily Bullet, and I specifically asked him. I said, as we talked about constitutional carry, and as we were closing out the show, I said, we've got this New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin decision that's supposed to be coming out somewhere in the April to June area next year. We are all hoping and believing that it will be the end of May issue. Could it possibly be the end of issue period? Could it go all the way to constitutional carry? And basically what he said was, well, in the decision that Heller was, that there was some writing that kind of that there's writing in Heller in the opinions that yes, there is some regulation that is allowed, and so the hope to go all constitutional carry is not with the Bruin case. So
right, but absolutely right, Paul. I understand. We still need to bring lawsuits, but if the court would be explicit in the standard of scrutiny, standard of review, that would go a pretty long way. I'll take that as second best.
Yeah. Smeggy, can you make an umbrella gun at home? Would that be NFA?
We could make one. If we could make one, well, we don't have cars with antennas anymore, but you could make one out of an antenna. So we should be able to make one out of an umbrella. Maybe we have to modify the umbrella slightly, but it's possible.
Right.
And Warsaw Patriot says there's on YouTube there's a guy who made a Desert Eagle in 50 full auto. It has a third selector. It's all gold plated, and I'm not going to prison, so that won't be mine. Let's see here. He also said it's a human rights law. Yes, Rob. Many states are also violated, plus discrimination and segregation is related to this matter.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Dr. John Lott says so eloquently that really they have made the gun issue an issue so that they can really go after the minorities, and they can shut them down, and they can keep them, frankly, where they want them. And that's one of the reasons why they do background checks the way that they do, so that all common names will restrict you. And so if you're in a community where there's higher crime and common names, that's more and more of you who are delayed falsely, but delayed denied. And it's all a master plan.
We're running a little late, but I want to get one more comment in here from Smeggy. He says, I think constitutional carry will keep winning in the states. We have, 4 states right now, possibly 4 or 5. I know that Alabama is working hard on getting constitutional carry very soon. I know that Louisiana passed it last year. The governor vetoed it, and there was some it was passed with a veto-proof majority, and then there was some backdoor, shenanigans.
The governor bought a vote. Yep.
And so hopefully that comes up again this year, and it gets an even stronger veto-proof majority. Indiana is working on it. And there are other. Ohio is making noise.
On it. Pennsylvania passed it. The governor didn't sign it. It too will be looking for another, go round.
Yeah.
Especially, we're at 21 states right now. So once you get to half, it really starts to change the dynamic.
Well, there's
Nebraska's working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, Georgia, Florida, and Nebraska are the other 3 you want to toss in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Smeggy, you're right. Constitutional carry will keep winning. I'm not holding my breath for New Jersey, New York, or California, though.
Well, I think those are safe bets.
Yeah, we're seeing the great sort play itself out. Didn't the gun law in Delaware that requires pistol purchase permits take effect this week?
I don't know. Oh, I'm not up on that one.
I think it might have. I heard some people talking about that this weekend.
Yeah.
That Delaware's changed some of their laws.
So
that very well could be.
The great news is we're bringing freedom to millions. Unfortunately, hundreds of thousands are still being infringed. So keep at it, you guys. Work harder. Where do we want to go next, Paul?
Why don't we go to break? Because we've got a defensive gun use segment that's coming up, including one from California. Yeah, there are a lot of gun owners in California, and some of them actually know how to use them and do successfully use them to defend themselves. So let's hear from CNJFO. When we come back, we'll get to those defensive gun uses. Hang on, everybody. Right back right after this.
New Jersey is a civil rights wasteland where an unconstitutional law known as justifiable need keeps ordinary citizens from exercising their right to bear arms. New Jersey spits in the eye of freedom, ignores the Bill of Rights and the Heller decision. New Jersey politics are an anti-civil rights bulldozer and a spreading cancer. The Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners, a tax-exempt nonprofit, has a goal to defeat justifiable need, reverse course on all anti-freedom laws, and render aid to other jurisdictions by filing Supreme Court-bound litigation. CNJFO is a beacon of freedom behind the Iron Curtain in New Jersey. Join CNJFO's strong, enthusiastic patriots. Support the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners today. Protect all our rights and return freedom to the Garden State. To donate or learn more, go to cnjfo.com.
Hey, and welcome back. This is the Defensive Gun Use segment of the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. And in case my doctor is watching, yes, I am keeping up with my water consumption just as I keep up with my blood pressure medication. But at any rate, these discussions are not legal advice. Some of us are trainers, but this is not formal training, and you need formal training. The Defensive Gun Use segment is intended as information, not as training. As always, the opinions of the hosts are only their own opinions and not those of any sponsors or other affiliations. And I'll drink to that. Amanda, you got the first one.
Okay, so Upland, California. 4 men entered the Upland Jewelry Mart and attempted to commit a smash and grab robbery. The 4 deployed bear spray against the customers and the employees inside the store before smashing display cases and grabbing the contents. When the business owner deployed his firearm, the quartet fled the scene. They ran to their car and drove off. The police were able to use surveillance video to identify the men, and the Upland police located 1 man and the getaway car in Upland. San Bernardino Sheriff's deputies arrested 3 others in Ontario. A 5th man remains at large. The group is believed to have been involved in multiple smash and grab robberies in jewelry stores in Claremont and Chino Hills. Rob?
I did notice that 3 of the 5 criminals were repeat offenders. They had outstanding warrants for their arrest. But I have a question for the hive mind here. Is bear spray a lethal threat? Do I get to shoot guys who come in and spray my customers and staff with bear spray?
I would say that I could make an argument that it is.
What's the
I'd love
purpose
to hear
of
that
bear
argument.
spray? To incapacitate you.
Incapacitate, yes. I understand.
Okay, so when you're incapacitated, what happens? And so it really is putting you at risk. It's sort of like you're getting carjacked and you're getting ripped out of the car and thrown into traffic.
And it's
it
not
doesn't
just
necessarily mean that somebody hits you, but there's that threat of that.
And it's not just death, it's death or great bodily harm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard people say that you shouldn't use wasp spray because if you spray someone in the eye with wasp spray and they lose their sight, they can turn around and sue you for that.
Well, no, I'm not advocating for wasp spray. That's not my point.
Right. No. So I'm thinking if you're using bear spray to spray bears, that's its intended use. If you're using it offensively, in a crime, then that would not be.
It would be an offense.
Yes, it would be an. it would be offensive, and it would be an offensive move, right?
Right,
Okay.
but not every offensive move justifies the use of lethal force.
Pete over at Gun Website says, yes, bear spray is lethal, and he follows it up with, but if you wear a mask, bear spray is 100% ineffective. No, dude. If you don't wear glasses and that stuff gets in your eyes, it's 100% effective.
Okay.
So, yeah, I
he was
think I
cracking
mean,
a joke. You get your mask on, you should be fine.
well, it depends on
Nothing to
which
worry
kind of
about.
mask, right? There you go.
Yeah.
The inside out or the
Range
white
of
side
mask.
out.
Paul's taking him seriously, and he's thinking like, "Yeah,
No,
this is
he's
stupid."
if he was being joked, if I took you wrong, Pete, I'm sorry, but I was looking at it as if that stuff gets in my eyes, yeah, I won't be able to see for a long time.
Hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So no, I do think it's a lethal threat. I mean, because it is when you are doing something. Pete says he's kidding. When you're doing
kidding,
something, and they come and attack you, and they make it to where you can't focus, you can't see, you can't breathe. It shuts down your system. It doesn't kill you. It shuts down your system and makes you vulnerable. And so, yeah.
So a bunch of bad guys come in, they overpower customers, they tie them up and blindfold them.
Okay, that's a freaking lethal threat. You tie
Yeah,
me up, what's next?
okay.
I'm shooting
Right.
your ass before you ever get that far.
I'm
Thank
probably
you.
going to shoot, but I don't think I'd be aiming for that part of the body. Anyway.
Thank you for the argument. I like it. I appreciate
It's
it.
not that we're looking for big targets; we're looking for lethal targets.
We're looking for the ones we recognize. Is that not that? Never mind.
Oh.
There's only one.
To the sort of polite society podcast.
Not so polite society podcast.
Oh my gosh!
And Pete does bring up a great
Bingo.
point.
Bingo, Pete. Bingo.
Designed to overwhelm a mammal 5 times our size and power. Yep.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess the way I see it is this: they're using this. They're using this to commit a crime, to rob a store. So, yeah, it's you gotta stop it from happening. You can't just let people spray you with bear spray and then commit crimes.
It's kind of like you were 6, but Mom, they attacked me first. Boom.
One other thing I
Right.
want to bring up about this DGU is all this guy had to do was draw, basically. And they were like, ooh, we got bear spray. He's got a gun. That trumps it. We're out of here. See ya. And they all,
See ya.
we're gone.
Quote Kathy
Yes.
Jackson, the day that nothing happened.
Well, it's a pretty exciting day for nothing to happen.
But I didn't have to shoot you
Yeah,
in your butt or
now-
anywhere else, right?
Isn't that amazing that the guy goes, "Oh, this is bad," and he literally saved their life by knowing when he could present and knowing when he had to shoot and recognizing that gap. Wow,
Yep.
that's a professional.
Yeah. Now, speaking of professionals, 3 of these guys are out on outstanding arrest for their warrant.
Yes.
They seem like they know what they're doing. Maybe they couldn't get a gun legally. Maybe they couldn't, I don't know, get a machete or get something else. So they wanted to find some sort of a tool they could use to overpower people, to rob and steal people at a store.
Okay.
I'm not sure that they were worried about getting a gun legally.
Oh, I hear you. But they weren't getting a gun. See, this is good. This is
So we switched to something else, right?
right.
Let's
Rob,
move on to Oklahoma.
I think you got the next one, Rob.
I take this one, except I'm not sure I know how to say Bashoke in Bashoke, Oklahoma. That's where a 49-year-old male entered a home at between 10 and 11 at night. He attacked the 69-year-old homeowner. Then the attacker left the home. But wait, there's more. Now the attacker turns around and tries to re-enter the home, This time, the homeowner had retrieved his firearm, and when the intruder comes back for a second round, he goes, "Nope, not interested," and the homeowner shot the intruder. He also fired several shots at the truck that his attacker had arrived in prior to the getaway driver fleeing the scene. Okay, enter LaFleur County Sheriff's deputies. They're dispatched just before 11. The homeowner had stated in his call that he was not aware that he had hit anyone. Well, upon arriving at the scene, the deputies find the intruder slumped over at the bottom of the steps to the front yard. EMS confirmed that he was already a goner. After a brief investigation, the homeowner was transported to the hospital for his injuries from the first assault. Well, then, that's how the investigation stands right now. It's ongoing. They have possible IDs of the people in the truck. The homeowner has made a claim of self-defense.
It doesn't say anything specifically about this in this story. However, if that truck is in reverse and backing away or driving away, please don't fire. Please, if they're retreating, they're no longer a threat to you at that time. That's what I'm going to say.
And since I'm not nearly as intelligent or good-looking, but I hear Robin and Amanda in my ear whispering, "Lock your doors." Now, it doesn't say that that the intruder broke into the home. It says he entered the home. Oh, you left your door open. They run away. Pro tip, lock the door.
Yeah, it helps. And then the part where he has to go get his gun, pants on, gun on.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you've got a Barca Lounger, there's the secret compartment furniture right beside it, right? I mean, that way your gun doesn't pull down your pajama pants. I don't know.
I don't know why, going back to the locked door, I don't know why he didn't lock it after he came in the first time.
After he exited, yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Some people don't learn as easy as others, or don't scare as easy as others. I don't know.
Right.
All right. Well, we seem to have we covered the comments, so let's. We don't have any on this last one, so let's go ahead and let's take our final break, and then we'll do one more segment. We'll close the show out. Hang on, everybody. We're going to hear from JPFO. We'll be right back. Right after this.
It all failed before. Alcohol prohibition brought us organized crime, and no less alcohol. Drug prohibition brought us murderous, no-knock, wrong-house raids.
Police! Search warrant!
No, wait! The crack house is next door!
Now gun prohibitionists want laws to lead us down that same path. Don't Americans ever learn? You just ask yourself, isn't government the only beneficiary of police-state policies? Brought to you by Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. Information available at jpfo.org.
All right, welcome back to the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. At this point, usually I go to Rob and say, Rob, what's you been putting up over at Slowfax lately, man?
And you did this time, too. I appreciate that. Lots of us own guns. Lots of us carry guns in public. That's important because gun owners save a lot of lives. All right, now we can get serious. I'll talk about how many of each and how important that is. That article is called Armed Defense, The Lives We Save and the Lives We Live. My articles are up at Clash Daily, at AmmoLand, and at Second Call Defense. Go look for them first at my blog at slowfax.wordpress.com. My colleague John Richardson wrote an article where he pointed out that Sturm Ruger donated $25,000 to Walk the Talk America. That's a bunch of gunnies who are trying to address mental health issues in the gun community so that we protect our rights. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sturm Ruger.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Rob, you and I'm gonna jump the gun here, Charlie. I'm gonna throw to you here in just a second. But Rob, one thing that when you ask me what have we been doing, I do daily bullets, I do weekly bullets, but I'm particularly proud of the weekly bullet that we did this past Saturday. We had Brooke Cheney on, and we did a very in-depth discussion about suicide prevention and the surrounding mental health issues. Took up a little more than half the show that we did. Folks, if you are so inclined, it's on the SAF's social media, or it is on podcast. Just go look for the Daily Bullet podcast. It shows up there too. So, yes, absolutely. I was very, very proud of that. What we did there, Charlie. What have you got? What have you got that you've put out or are going to be putting out?
Well, thanks. I'm going to be putting out episode 136 of Riding Shotgun with Charlie tomorrow. Tomorrow, my passengers are Lieutenant Lou Lusk and Rick Capozzi. Lieutenant Lou was on the team of people that rescued Jessica Lynch in 2003, I think it was. So he's got some wild stuff, and Rick Capozzi was one of the guys that he teaches some courses, and Lieutenant Lou does some of the lectures and the classes. Stephen Williford does some classes for Rick Capozzi as well. And I met those guys at the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival back in October when I filmed the show. Speaking of Brooke Cheney and suicide prevention, this Saturday night at 9 o'clock Eastern, the other time zone that matters, I'm going to be on with Brooke on her suicide prevention Saturday night, and that's I think she does it live on Facebook and on YouTube. So that's going to be fun. Nice. And we're going to. She's giving me some homework to do, so I've got to do a little bit of research, which is going to be good and should be interesting. What is going on in the world of Amanda and women's gun rights and eye on the target and cannons and all sorts of stuff? Flamethrowers. I can't even say it.
Yeah. So I think the big thing that happened is my podcast carrier went belly up, and so right now you cannot find my podcast unless you go directly to Libsyn, which is where I'm starting to download. So I've lost the carrier that I've used for the last 12 years, and that hurts. And so I'm trying to learn exactly what I'm missing in getting everything programmed. So if you're trying to find my podcast, just hang on, and at some point I'll figure it out. Remember, I'm old. Okay.
Let me get
just
this
because
one.
Just because you're retiring soon doesn't mean you're old, Amanda.
Oh man, I feel when I'm messing with this stuff, it's like I don't know what blah.
Pete over at Gun Websites wants to know if any 2A-oriented people, things, events, booth at SHOT Show that folks should be aware of. Well, I know if you're going to SHOT Show, you should probably stop by Radio Row, right, Amanda?
Yeah, so my plan is that Eye on the Target Radio will be on Radio Row. We will be recording in the mornings, and so we've got a big banner that says we're here, ta-da, and then when we leave, it's like, sorry we missed you, here's how you get a hold of us. It's magical, it's two-sided. But other than that, there are people people are popping into SHOT Show, people are pulling out of SHOT Show, and frankly, in my opinion, this may be the year for the little guy. That if you've got a small company, you've got something unique, people are not going to be razzle-dazzled by the big guys because a lot of them aren't coming. And so this is your chance. So showcase it, honey, showcase it.
Yeah, personally, I was looking forward very much to going to SHOT Show this year after discussions that, and it's not been a secret, I've been accused of oversharing, but it's not a secret I've had health challenges this past year. And it got brought up that, are you sure you want to go hang out with 50,000 people in this age of COVID, even though you've been vaccinated and all this good stuff? Are you sure you want to go hang out with 50,000 people right now with your health challenges? yeah, maybe that's not a great idea. So it may be better that I keep hanging out here and try to keep the media flowing from the home base. There will be Daily Bullet podcasts all this week, all next week. It may just be me because everybody's going to SHOT Show, but I'm staying home. Gun Websites has another great question. Charlie, are you still going?
I am. I'll be there from Tuesday to Thursday. I've got some events planned for Tuesday night and for Wednesday night, and I'm gonna try to meet with some people to try to find people to connect with to help a brother out, and then just do all the social butterfly stuff that I do.
Okay.
You know, hang out with all. I'm so excited. I really cherish hanging out with you guys and all my gun friends from around the country. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Paul, to comment on what you said about your health issues, you will recall that even in a non-COVID year, you wonder if the bad guys deliberately biologically nuked the Second Amendment community when everybody came down with the SHOT Show crud.
And it's been called the SHOT Show crud for a lot of years before COVID came around.
Before we had COVID. Right.
And I never got it. I never got the SHOT Show crud, mainly because I don't like shaking hands, and I'm very...
I got it.
I'm very adamant about washing my hands when I'm in public, but...
2 years ago, a lot of people were hospitalized in Vegas, though. That was the one that was a different level. So I know actually 3 different people that were taken off the show floor and went to the hospital.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I did the same sort of thing last year, or in 2020, 2 years ago, where I was just there for 3 days, and the last day that I was there, I was like I got to the convention center and something hit me, and I'm like, I got to go back. Like I can't do this, and it was not a pretty scene. And I was able to meet Rob and Amanda for dinner, and they're like, you look like hell. I'm like, thanks, it's good to see you guys. And I loaded up on Gatorade and made it home.
Yeah, you did. You look bad.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and shut this one down. That does wrap up another episode of the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. For Amy, Dana, Tracy, John, Susan, Amanda, Robin, Charlie, and Rob.
Until next time.
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
The views and opinions on the show you just heard are those of the host and the guest and are not necessarily the views of any sponsors or other affiliations. But hey, not everyone is as smart as we are.
All right, we are done recording. I'm going to go ahead and shut the streams down here, but thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for commenting. We only got a few comments off Facebook, which goes to prove the throttling, but we've got lots and lots of comments off of YouTube, and thank you for everybody that commented. I think it is time to go ahead and shut it down, and we will see you next week.